Most people spend years chasing more money without realizing the real problem is usually the financial rules they follow daily. Money habits quietly shape someone's future, whether they realize it or not. Small financial decisions repeated consistently over time eventually become financial stress or financial freedom. That is why understanding the right money rules matters so much. Wealthy individuals often live by simple principles that protect cash flow, reduce financial pressure, and create long-term ownership gradually. Meanwhile, average consumers frequently follow emotional habits that create dependency, debt, and constant stress. Another major problem is that most schools never teach practical financial behavior properly. People grow up learning how to work for money, but rarely learn how to manage, protect, or grow it effectively. This creates a dangerous cycle where income rises, but financial pressure continues rising alongside it. Another important lesson is that wealth is usually built quietly. Most financially successful people are not making dramatic emotional decisions constantly. They are following disciplined systems repeatedly over many years. Another major issue is emotional spending. Many people spend money to reduce stress, boredom, insecurity, or frustration temporarily. But emotional spending usually creates future pressure instead of long-term relief. Wealthy individuals often focus more on ownership, flexibility, and future freedom than temporary appearances or instant gratification. Another important principle is understanding that financial freedom is not about perfection, it is about consistency. Small, disciplined actions, repeated over years, become life-changing results eventually. That is why these 5 money rules can completely change someone's life when followed consistently. They create awareness. They reduce unnecessary pressure. They build discipline. And most importantly, they create systems strong enough to survive emotional decisions and stressful periods long term. The first money rule is simple, but life-changing. Spend less than you earn, no matter how much money you make. This sounds obvious logically, but most financial problems begin when spending rises alongside income automatically. Many people receive raises only to increase lifestyle expenses immediately. Bigger apartments, newer vehicles, financed purchases, subscriptions, convenience spending, and luxury upgrades quietly consume additional income before savings or investing ever improve. Wealthy individuals often reverse this process intentionally. They increase ownership before increasing lifestyle. Another important lesson is understanding that high income alone does not guarantee wealth. Many high earners remain financially stressed because recurring obligations consume most of their income. Wealth is usually built through the gap between what someone earns and what they keep consistently over time. The second money rule is avoiding unnecessary debt aggressively. Debt creates future dependency because future income becomes committed before it is even earned. Wealthy individuals often avoid financing unnecessary purchases because every recurring payment reduces future flexibility. Financing phones, furniture, vacations, electronics, and emotional purchases creates long-term pressure for short-term comfort. Another major principle is distinguishing between productive debt and destructive debt. Productive debt may help acquire appreciating assets or income-producing opportunities. Destructive debt finances temporary consumption while creating future stress. Another critical lesson is protecting cash flow. Cash flow creates freedom because lower obligations increase flexibility during emergencies, career changes, or economic uncertainty. Another powerful principle is delaying gratification intentionally. Modern culture constantly promotes instant comfort and convenience. But wealthy individuals usually prioritize long-term peace over short-term emotional rewards. That behavior compounds dramatically over time because discipline creates future freedom gradually. Another major lesson is understanding opportunity cost. Every unnecessary dollar spent today is a dollar that cannot grow through investing, ownership, or future financial security later. The third money rule that changes lives is paying yourself first before spending money elsewhere. Most people save whatever remains after bills and spending. Wealthy individuals usually reverse this process completely. Savings, investing, and ownership happen first automatically before lifestyle spending expands. This single behavior changes financial outcomes dramatically because systems remove emotional inconsistency. Another major principle is automation. Automatic savings, transfers, automatic investing, automatic bill payments, and automatic debt reduction create reliable progress even when motivation disappears. Systems outperform willpower long term because emotions fluctuate constantly. Another important lesson is starting small instead of waiting for perfection. Many people delay saving or investing because they believe small amounts do not matter. But consistency matters more than intensity. Small, disciplined actions, repeated monthly, eventually become emergency funds, investments, reduced stress, and financial freedom later. Another major rule is building emergency savings aggressively. Financial emergencies become catastrophic when someone has no reserves available. Even small emergency savings create breathing room psychologically because unexpected expenses stop feeling overwhelming emotionally. Wealthy individuals often prioritize stability because stability improves decision-making dramatically. Another critical lesson is avoiding lifestyle comparison. Social media constantly promotes unrealistic lifestyles, luxury, and instant gratification. People begin feeling financially behind, even when making responsible decisions. Wealthy individuals usually focus on ownership and long-term flexibility instead of temporary appearances. Another major principle is patience. Compound growth feels invisible before it becomes extraordinary. Most people stop too early because progress initially feels slow. But eventually, consistent saving, investing, and disciplined behavior begin changing someone's entire financial future permanently. The fourth money rule is investing consistently and thinking long-term. Most people believe investing is complicated or only for wealthy individuals. But investing is simply using money to acquire assets capable of growing or producing income over time. Wealthy individuals understand that earned income alone rarely creates long-term freedom because time and energy are limited. Investing creates leverage because money begins producing more money independently. Another major lesson is understanding compound growth. Compound growth means investments generate returns, and those returns begin generating additional returns over time. In the beginning, progress feels slow, but over many years, compound growth accelerates dramatically. Another critical principle is emotional control. Most people lose financially because they react emotionally during uncertainty. Fear causes panic selling, while excitement causes reckless spending or investing decisions. Wealthy individuals usually remain disciplined because they understand markets, business cycles, and financial growth require patience long term. Another important lesson is avoiding financial noise. Headlines constantly create fear and emotional reactions because emotional attention generates engagement. But wealthy individuals focus more on systems than temporary news cycles. Another major principle is ownership. Wealthy people prioritize owning assets because ownership creates future options. Businesses, investments, real estate, and cash flow producing assets increase flexibility over time, while endless consumption increases dependency. Another important rule is protecting future flexibility aggressively. Stronger savings, and fewer obligations create resilience during difficult periods. That flexibility becomes one of the most valuable forms of wealth possible because it creates peace of mind and better long-term decisions. The fifth and most important money rule is understanding that financial success is ultimately behavioral, not mathematical. Most people already know the basics logically. Spend less, save more, avoid unnecessary debt, invest consistently. The challenge is implementation. Financial growth requires discipline strong enough to survive stress, emotions, boredom, insecurity, and temporary setbacks. Another major lesson is identity transformation. Wealth building begins changing permanently once someone stops viewing discipline as punishment and starts seeing it as freedom. Every positive financial decision increases future flexibility slightly. Another important principle is awareness. Most people avoid checking spending, reviewing accounts, or tracking progress because awareness feels uncomfortable emotionally. But awareness creates control. Control creates confidence. Confidence reinforces discipline. Another major issue is emotional spending. Shopping often becomes emotional relief instead of intentional decision-making. Wealthy individuals usually separate happiness from consumption more effectively because they understand temporary purchases rarely create lasting fulfillment. Another critical lesson is consistency. Most financially successful people are not perfect. They simply recover quickly from mistakes instead of quitting emotionally. One bad month does not destroy long-term progress unless someone stops entirely. Another major principle is systems over motivation. Motivation fades quickly during stressful periods. Systems survive difficult seasons because they reduce emotional decision-making. Another important shift is understanding that money is ultimately about freedom, not status. The goal is not endless luxury or temporary appearances. The goal is reducing stress, increasing options, protecting future flexibility, and creating long-term peace of mind. Real financial progress usually begins quietly through repeated disciplined actions that appear small initially but become extraordinary over time. Protect cash flow. Build ownership. Reduce unnecessary spending. Ignore comparison. Stay patient. Let consistency compound into freedom gradually. That is how real wealth is built. If this helped, then like and subscribe to the Daily Yield, because we're building real financial progress, one step at a time.